So
cool.
Okay. So hi guys.
Hi, Philip.
So my name is Philipp Druzhinin, and I want my guests to present themselves and tell them where they're from and stuff like that.
I'm Laurel. I'm from Scotland.
that's not a very big introduction.
No, short and sweet.
And my name is Matthew. I'm from England. I'm Laurel's partner.
Okay. How do we clearly pronounce Laurel? Oh, it's okay.
Laurel, yeah, like the tree.
Okay, Laurel, you've done pretty much drawing, I think. Is it your design that you post on Facebook?
Yeah, that's right.
So
oh my, yes.
You doing it in Photoshop, or you drawing by yourself? Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's drawings, pen and paper, and then I just use the camera apps to negative and alter the colors and whatnot. But it's just going through sketchbooks. I've not really very organized. It's all this moving house. It's in a big lump pile of drawings that I'm just trying to do something with.
And flat Earth is the key.
Yes, so exactly. I didn't want to put any art out until I had a message. So it's taken me, well, I'll be 40. Both of us are 40 this year, so it's taken us a long time to find the truth. So now that we have, well, that's just what I want to communicate, really, the reality of what we're living in.
I mean, it's amazing, really, that it's gathering such a following, because it's just becoming a medium to get people to wake up with, which is another thing we seem to be heading towards. No matter what you look at the moment, no matter what area of things you're interested in, it all leads back to the same fact that you know, we've been lied to, and it's just nice to be able to get it out there, and people seem to be following Laurel's pictures, which is really great.
Yeah, so you like we hear double sound. Maybe you should turn off something.
You do hear the double sounds. Okay.
So okay, so you like, you know, presenting your way of thinking in those illustrations, and that's how you gather so many likes. I've never seen so many likes under this.
Oh, thank you, Philip. That's lovely. I know it's been amazing. To be honest, it's quite.
It is very strange to see.
Quite overwhelming, obviously, but it's just exciting, isn't it, to be doing right now, 2017. It's just a good time to be awake, I guess, is the key. So your chat with John Humanity yesterday, we listened to it. It was really, what you were saying was incredibly spot on, don't you think?
Especially being stuff that you've not really touched on to yet either. Obviously, he forced you into Pizzagate and all these things. So it was nice to be able to branch out into it all, to be honest, because obviously we've just been waiting for you to get the Mudflood videos out, you know. So yeah, it was interesting to get it all out for once. Because obviously, essentially, we all know most of it anyway. So it's just a big mess. And it's covered in mud to make it worse.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, you have any questions, or everything is clear in that free talk with John Humanity? Maybe I should specify something.
I think for me, it's still just wanting to, you know, just trying to keep up with you as you bring out,
you know, Cicada,
your Mudflood things, you know. Obviously, when you started doing the Mudflood puzzle is solved, you said that obviously it's going to come out in pieces because people don't want to sit and watch a long video, and all the. It's amazing how you seem to know all about the way, the order that they want to create the order like it was before. You seem to have a lot of confidence in the fact that you think that they're trying to do it for good reasons, even though it looks to us like they don't even want us to be alive. So it's interesting to find out why you think that they've got our best interests in hand, and or if they've not got our best interests in hand, you think that we don't have a choice but to just go with them because that's all we've got. I mean, is that where you're at?
Yeah, until we have a critical mass of followers and stuff like that. So we cannot, you know, push them to deciding or making the conclusions that we want them to do, because it obviously doesn't fit their theories of controlling the masses. So who are we to tell them what to do? They are doing just fine. We're not doing good. That's the problem.
Yeah, of course. But
They
the
do
point is,
just fine.
don't you think that we are, maybe there is a small group of us that are, well, we woke up, so we are doing fine. So it's a case of just changing your perception, altering that part, and then that's like a mass awakening, changes the algorithms of
Reality.
So that we are in a paradigm shift of singularity rather than duality through conscious awareness, like you say, of our paradigm. Do you see what I mean? There's a tipping point we've reached, or we're reaching now, where people are, once you're aware, then there is nothing to be scared of. Do you see? Like cicada, I don't know if you've looked into that at all, have you?
Cicada? No, I don't hear that.
So it's well, you explain it, Matt.
It seems to be an online puzzle, but it also seems to be a tool that they use to wake people up. It's only just sort of hit us this last sort of week. What I want to know really is, what confuses me is the fact that we know that most things have been faked since sort of 1850 onwards. We know that most of the writings we've got are a lie. Someone, John Humanity, actually mentioned about how someone's shown online that all the paintings throughout history for the last 500 years worth of history have all just been mass produced as quick as possible. You mentioned yesterday that you think Napoleon's two different people, and that might explain that. So what I want to really is how you managed to try and piece together what went before, because sort of the way we see it for our 1500s, 1600s, 1700s, we can't believe a word of it because it's all just our little elitist crew of, you know, lords and kings and Britain, and we just don't. It just doesn't seem to match anymore when you know that it's probably just all made up, and they're making out that they've been elitist for a long time, and they've not really been. They're just the ones that scrambled power back when we emerged, you know. So it'd be nice to try and figure out what went before.
I think the ones that are in power now are not in power for very long.
No.
They just grabbed the power in 19th century. That's why they're afraid for us to know the truth.
Yeah.
That's the only reason they can cover that, because some of them already were brought by revolutions in many countries, which we know. Definitely, there were some revolutions through that time. So some of them may be made like from poisoning and switching the leaders and stuff like that. Some of them were just bombed. You know, Russia had a czar who was bombed by a terrorist. We in fact were one of the first countries which was attacked by a terrorist attack in 19th century. So and the brother of the guy who bombed the czar, or the emperor, was Vladimir Lenin, who was after that creator of coup in 1917, which is exactly 100 years from now. So the Lenin guy, which is now in the mausoleum on the Red Square, still laying in that building, which symbolizes something really bad, I think, because it looks like a Babylon type of structure, so-called ziggurat, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So in ziggurat, you're supposed to put a head of a red-headed leader of the country, and that's how you take all the power from this country through that head to the world of dark Navi, which what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Well, that was all new to. I mean, I guess John mentioned to you yesterday how you probably assume that quite a lot of people know that, but I mean, it's obvious now that there's so many different theories flying around. People don't know whether there's hollow Earth, flat Earth, no space, you know, and you can't blame them for not knowing.
But the Navi thing is interesting because over in Britain, they're called the Navies are.
Yeah, we call the what is it?
Irish
we
people
call the Irish Navies, and of
are
course,
Navies. What they claim, they built all the dams, all the locks, and the canals, and it's quite
the navigators.
they're the navigators. Well, it's
of
obviously
course.
the Atlantean navigators,
and
isn't
the
it?
Phoenicians
Yeah,
as well.
we are all descendants of the Navis from the heavens. So we are some of us brought through a mix of the visitors and so-called locals. So some of us were locals, but they mixed with someone who was immigrated here, brought here after several floods, because we had to populate the area with the upcoming people, because it was just a disaster. About somebody thinks even that 80 billion people died in 19th century. So
Yeah.
I don't count that much, but
I know that around where we live was populated. Now it's just empty countryside, and like where I grew up, there was hundreds of houses, but there's nothing there now. So
all the big houses have been knocked down as well.
Yeah, like the mansions, they're all just they destroy everything.
Of course, they were all half buried round here anyway. Most of the big houses here are still half buried.
No,
you know, the first floors are underground.
You can see that in Britain of the flood in England and cities, various places. It's
everywhere. And obviously, it's obviously England got affected, like you said yesterday, as a side effect of them trying to wipe out Tataria.
Of course, because Britain was a huge part of Tataria, because it provided all this fleet, and it was a like autonomous province since maybe the beginning of 5th century, something like that. Because Ingl, the first word Ingl means the first. So they actually contained the mother beliefs of those who were actually the owners of this world.
Like a central location place type thing.
Not essential, but it's not the center of that civilization, but it was one of the key points, because if you have to control the world, you have to control Britain. Okay, so it's like the first point of all other points that's outside of these areas, you know.
Have you heard Edinburgh is Eden, and the Bible is a code for Scotland? It's transposed to
the tribes of Dan being red-haired giants, or
Irish, Celts.
Yeah, the Celts obviously being all the red-haired people.
What did they wear? What did they wear?
It seems as if they wore Eastern European dress.
Yeah, they did.
We found a photo online just the other day. Actually, I might be able to find it in a sec. But yeah, they were wearing headdresses still.
Local people around here looked Russian.
Yeah, they looked Eastern European.
Yeah, okay. So
in the 1900s,
do you know that Scot means and Wales are similar to Russian god of all those animals, which was named Wales? Have you heard about it?
No.
It's one of the major gods in Aryan mythology, so-called Aryan mythology, and that's why the Druid guys, they are also from that Aryan mythology, and they were called Volhvi, which is also close to the word bull, and Wales is the same. He is the guy of he looks like a bull. Let me show you. Let's see. Okay.
But it is really hard to get to the bottom of any of it when it's just lies.
Do you see something?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So one of the most famous pictures of the guy. So he looked like a guy who's riding on a bear and stuff like that. So
riding on a bear, just
yeah.
like.
So he was like a forest and all animals protector. So he was like, you know, very, very so he was one of the major gods, of course. So he was bear. He represent bears. He represent wolves. He represent bulls and even some birds. So that's his like position. So and also he was the guy who transfers the people who are coming to the Dark Navi from here. So he was like one who decides where to put you in the Dark Navi world after you die. If you belong to Dark Navi world, because during our lives we decide where we going afterwards. So right now the door to the upper light Navi worlds are closed, and we only can go to this mid world, and that's it. So most of us resurrect here after death again, and most of us who are acting bad and thinking the wrong way go to Dark Navi worlds after death.
Right, so you do think there is two places to end up in?
So that's the actual, you know, that's the actual construction of this place, because Dark Navi worlds are made to clean up the souls of people who are really belong to Light Navi world. And Dark Navi people, when they return to their world, they're also feeling good because they return to the place where they belong, so-called hell worlds, demonic worlds, and stuff like that. So that's okay for them to return. And for us, for good people, when we go to Dark Navi world, we just get cleaned up, and then we pop out and return to Light Navi after cleaning. Okay. So that's the way it was made, and
yeah.
Actually, if you analyze Bible, you're gonna find out that the real name of Jesus Christ was Emmanuel, so which actually means God is with us, something like that. So if you Google that,
what about the cicada, Matt? It is quite a revelation, really. I don't really know how to articulate it, though. We can't get no. Why not?
So what if you're at a place where you've discovered Midgard and all of these things, where does Odin and everything fit into this then, and all the Norse myths, because the runes are close to quite a lot of writings that people find that haven't been really deciphered yet. I was watching a video yesterday where they were in underground Crete, which is just underground buildings, really. There was screenshots of writings that have not been bothered to be deciphered yet, but they just looked really like runes. So where does Odin and Thor and all this fit in then? Is it just stories left behind by people from the other place, or is this come from this person that came 40,000 years ago and left those stories? I mean, that seems quite a long time.
We have to always check for the origin of all the stories and the place they relate to. If the place says that they were from Asgard, So like
Yeah.
the guy of Odin says, I was from Asgard. So where is Asgard? Asgard
Yeah.
is somewhere in the space, or whatever they tell us is. They don't show us Asgards, okay? But we know that we're a bunch of Asgards on the territory of Tartaria. Which one? First one was on the river of Irtysh in Siberia. The second one was on Ashgabat, which is territory of Uzbekistan or Tajikistan. I don't remember exactly. Tajikistan, I think. So it's in the center of Eurasia, exactly in the center. Some one Asgard was somewhere else, and so on and so forth. So all those Asgards never been found as the place which is says the complete name, but we can find some sources, the books who tell us that it was supposedly there and there because the river was called like this, and the river which they crossed, that river was called like this. So we find the rivers, and so that's how we find the city. And that's why on those places there was always a city, and because they built the cities on the places of destroyed cities every time, because that's okay.
You said you didn't feel like there was a collective conscious memory of any of these past.
Well, no, actually, he said that you're not able to upload it so that you can remember it next time. So we're constantly in our
collective consciousness is one thing, and the memory is another thing. It's not the same thing. Okay, the life you choose before you come here is actually promoted by your last behavior and what those serving, I don't know how to call them, but those are actually gods. There are two gods who decide what to do with you next time. So actually it's one means like luck, and another means not luck, okay, whatever you call it. In Russian it's доля и недоля. So those two sisters, they decide what to do with you after you return, and they give you the exact program in which you can fit in next time you go back, and you decide to pick the program for you, and you can have like some decision making there too, but only inside the program. So that's how you can return here and affect your further activities, so next time you have a better program and stuff like that. So that's the only way you can reach the point. But right now it's not working because we are not going further. We're just stuck on this level, okay? Because
I think we are, Philip. I think we are. I think we are evolving. There are people clearly.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're waking up, but Philip's point is that we're not transferring it through to the next life. So we're just resetting constantly.
Yeah, we're just back in here and returning here and trying to change something. Literally, we're trying, in that movie that Tom Cruise made it a couple of years ago, when he returned in time for a couple of times when he got dead. So they shot him and he returns. They shot him again and he returns. Just watch this mechanism. It's the same mechanism. When you return to the certain point to change something. That's why we cannot change. And the matrix also shows us that we stuck on such period of time where it's easy to control us.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can break that, can't you?
Yes, you can. When you have a critical mass, you can. And in fact, this time we have a window in time, like the period of time where we can do it.
We really do believe that we are, and I think a lot of people believe that too. And I think that comes back to what John was saying yesterday about the fact that we do create our own reality, and there has to be a point where this shared consciousness, I mean, the shared reality that we're living in, has to change via people's thoughts. people are gonna be really upset at the fact that they feel like they've just found flat Earth, and they feel like they've just found a connection to their creator. They feel like they can feel, the love that you tend to feel when you are awake. Then to find out that we're trapped in a simulation that's never going to end unless we do something about it. It's a bit confusing for people. I mean, obviously it sounds right, but it's not ideal. I mean, it sounds right for the way reality is, for the, if people have seen the way reality is made, it's not a very nice place by the looks of things. But yeah, it's really confusing for people to think that they're not going to be able to even get back to the creator that they think they've just found.
Well, it's better to find out the way things are when you're not on a war, because if you're on a war and find this out, it doesn't make any sense to anyone. You have to shoot people around you. You have to survive. We don't have any wars right now between, West and Russia, which is predicted to happen for a couple of times. So we have time to.
But I think the thing is, we're in a I think we're in a psychological war that we have been thrust into it for decades now, and we're coming out of a psychological war. We're generations of traumatized people who are emerging from it. Now it's like the cicada, which is the puzzle, which reflects the philosophy of. You have to have a look, Matt. Google it or something. But if you look at it, the definition of this puzzle cicada is that artificial intelligence is the singularity which overrides our dual existence.
Yeah, basically explains obviously that we're working towards a singularity, and that will create the new world that we're all looking for. If not, create the heaven on earth that people are trying to usher in. But it's probably going to end up being multi-leveled, and it's probably going to end up being it all at once. It seems to be like we're living in really important times, and I can't explain the way I want to say it.
So the computer, the artificial intelligence, is benevolent, it's good, and it can override the dark forces, which is what you conclude when you look into the cicada, is that it's a force for good, and it leads people to the truth through different avenues. And in conclusion, you assume that the artificial intelligence has the power to basically override technology, like, say, missile technology, because it seems to be behind WikiLeaks. It seems that it is.
Where do you stand on current nuclear technology as far as weapons are concerned, and why? What makes you think that we do still have them?
I think we were bound because that's the only reason that could happen. Because I was
but I think that was more of a what do you call that?
Well, I believe I think we're in a fake polar winter, North Polar winter.
They've put cooled.
I mean,
cooled the air.
Even in the books from sort of the 1600 expeditions, even the expedition to the pole that King Arthur was supposed to have made that came through Scotland, they all seem to explain Greenland being green, Iceland being populated.
Philip, you'll know yourself. You know how the elephants, they claim they're mammoths, but they're obviously elephants that are in the mud in Siberia. Is it not warm enough to have elephants in some parts of Russia? I mean, you get pretty good temperatures there, don't you? I'm sure there isn't much of a cooling. I think they just make it appear that there's a real cold Arctic tundra.
I don't know. It looks pretty cold in Russia. It's pretty cold here too, but I still think it's
Scotland's cold, but I'm sure elephants could live in England. I'm not sure. Do you think it's got colder?
Well, I think the wild animals could survive everywhere if they have something to eat.
Elephants,
But if you mean like grow elephants like cows and stuff like that, so I don't think so. It would be very expensive. Are we here? I don't know what happened. Probably dropped out. So, what nice topics for today. So we started talking about Veles and whales, or he also was god of all those animals, and especially one of his symbolizing was wolf, one of his symbolizing was bear, and one was a bull. So sometimes even this, but he was a brother of the head god, and something like that. So he was actually one of the major, and that's how Scotland is called after those who were supporting this belief. And England actually means the first land, so like the first land after the big land. So, and those guys were actually separated and had many druids on them, and used those druids in Celtic times to protect themselves.
Hi, can you hear us?
Yes, yes, you returned. Okay, so what are you guys saying? You dropped out?
Yeah, sorry. Sorry about that.
Yeah, the connection went off.
So
Sorry
we
about
were
that.
talking about Ireland, and I switched from the topic of Wales. That he was actually the one who protected all those areas, and he was god of all animals, and also he liked this druid thing that a bunch of Celtic tribes had. And have you any information about those druids in your country?
Well, it's always been something that you see on TV that's only ever publicized at solstice. So growing up, you think it's just rubbish, you know, and it's as usual, it's trained into us.
It's
as
a
we
bit.
grow up, we watch it on TV, we hear about it at school, and it's just as far as you learn when you're a little child is that it's just bad.
Oh, I don't like
and
that.
you're indoctrinated. You didn't learn that. Well, we learned that when you look into it when you're a little bit older and you start researching it now, and obviously the way that it all ties into what we thought was history. But this is the problem that we're having, Philip. You see, ever since, you know, the mud for us is pretty big because we spent our entire life at school learning that we can Roman pottery and Roman soldiers, but the fact is that we're simply just not digging down to that level because that's original street level. So they're clearly not. They clearly weren't Roman. So not only have we got that, getting back to the warmer climate animals, we're also digging down in England to warmer climate animals, and they say that we're digging to 500,000 years ago when it was warmer. But it's obviously not the case. We're obviously just digging through the various flood layers.
We've got stone circles. I lived in Ireland. They're everywhere. There's all sorts of incredible, absolutely amazing structures around, earthworks and circles and all you name it. I've seen all sorts of stuff in Ireland.
But we're not taught why the Druids have why the Druids still go to the circles at all. You know, you have to look that up for yourself.
It's obvious that it's an underground. There's an underground world that we're not aware of.
Yeah. And one of the entrances. In fact, in Scotland is one of the entrances. That's what I was trying to talk about when I talk about Wales. That's what the land of Wales. So, and Wales was the guy who that God was one of us controllers to the descending people, descending souls. So the entrance of to the Dark Navi is located close to Britain.
Well, it would make sense because it seems that, in my opinion, well, the trees were cut down. So you've got your Giant's Causeway in Ireland, which is it's sea level or below sea level, and you've got the Devil's Tower. I think that's below sea level, and then you've got the mountains that they've built, the concrete, the silicate. So they've built the structures and the underworld. It's obvious. I've looked into caves. You can see there's the concrete structures anywhere. That's all built. Mountain range is a big complex of around the earth. You've got entrances all over the place to vast labyrinths that are incomprehensible in the scale and size of.
But of course, all we see on the surface is just piles and piles and piles of mining debris, hills, mountains, mud. Everywhere,
isn't it?
Everywhere.
It's all graded. The landscape around here is just mine quarried. You think it's beautiful hills and it's beautiful country lanes, but it's all bloody completely contrived. Every valley is contrived. Every hill, every single thing is contrived. The only piece of originality is when you get to the west, where you find the causeway, the silicate columns, the basalt. That apart from that, everything's manufactured. The Grampian Hills, there's all granite, and you can see
the granite's obviously been liquid at some point.
Yeah, certainly.
Yes, and what interests me is how the plants, say like alpine plants, have evolved since the construction of Earth as it is now to.
Laurel tends to think that if there was, really big trees, they would have had different flora and fauna. As you go up it, you'd have had different animal and plant life living on it for the temperature and height.
Well, alpine plants
and all these
perhaps
plants have
may have gone. You can only suppose that they would have grown higher in the altitude, and they've had to.
Well, you think they've made it all nice for us to live in. I don't think that. I think that obviously they've chopped all these big trees down in the past, and all these things have blown everywhere, and natural things have taken course. But all these timelines are all completely screwed now.
Maybe.
We don't understand. I get people questioning me all the time now about the British Empire and the wooden ships era and the so-called things like Columbus, and the fact that can't be British because it's got to be pre-flood, so it has to have been Atlantis and Tartaria and whatnot. It can't be what we're told it is, but maybe there has to have still been an era with wooden ships and things like that. They wouldn't have needed wooden ships because they've all got pre-flood tech.
Yes,
exactly.
That's
so none of this. So all of our British history makes no sense at all. I think the castles that we have are from a giant time, and then I think we've got the classic structures that you're talking about now that are buried up to their first floors. I think that's 2 ages. No, I just can't make sense of it.
There's loads though, aren't there? Because you've got the megaliths, well, Sylvie calls them elf castles.
Poor Sylvie.
Poor Sylvie.
So we got a question. Are they keeping our lifespans short in order to keep us from waking up along with the slavery?
Yeah, of course they are, because the sooner that we die, the whole point of this, the vaccines and the fluoride and the indoctrination is because if we die before we wake, as far as they maybe if they know about all this connection thing, they still think that if we die while we're awake, we've got more chance of being connected back and having an upload and an upgrade. Surely that could be the only reason they want to stop it happening, because if they know the connection's broke, they shouldn't have to worry. They could just let us go through our lives and not care if we wake up or not. But they clearly do care if we wake, because they're trying to stop us from waking. They try and stop us through keeping us, they make us work before we retire, and then if we're lucky, we get a little bit of time off before we die. That all stops us from waking up. Of course it does. Most people that I know that are awake through trauma. through sadness
Trauma?
or
Trauma, as in,
hitting rock bottom and having a really horrible life, you know.
Terrible things happening to you. That's what my partner died. 5-year-old in his bed, a heart attack. So I woke up and, well, life's never gone back.
I guess you never know what's going to force you down a rabbit hole, and eventually you end up seeing the truth. And I guess that's the point of trying to get people to be interested in something, whether it be 9/11 or vaccines or cancer or something, because obviously it's all connected back to the same thing, the fact that they want us to die before we wake. So that's that person, whoever it is, exactly right. And I need to get onto your channel really and have a look. But yeah, they're exactly right. That's exactly what they're trying to do. Do you agree with that? I mean,
maybe not.
I mean,
Maybe.
we can be saved on Earth. We have got a window of opportunity so that we're not recycled. I think that's the key.
but not until we fix all the machinery and all the connection back to our realms, if they've all been destroyed.
Well, that's a question, huge question, of course. But I think about stress and trauma that can actually wake us up. Of course, they wake us up, and that's what are they afraid of, because they don't want us to spread the information. The only way we can do it to the sheeple is gather the main media resources. Right now, one of the biggest medias is YouTube, and if we take control of some audience attention in YouTube, we can have a lot more effective effects.
Yes.
So, and
Yes.
we
Does
can
it not
speed
concern
things up.
you?
That's what you are doing when you are posting those illustrations in Facebook. It's the same
Absolutely.
thing. So we
Absolutely,
have to.
Philip. It is amazing, but of course, I know the power of the message, isn't it? It can transform lives. That's the way my life was transformed. After he died, I went on Facebook, and one thing led to another, and I just went down the rabbit hole of obviously flat Earth through to, I guess, which is beyond flat Earth, isn't it? Much more than that. So yeah, it's quite amazing.
So can you tell me, did anyone made an interview with a professional sailor, for example, maybe military, Navy personnel?
This
Did
is what
anyone?
annoys me. You would have thought by now, if there was really something to it, that there would be some really influential navigators, sailors, pilots. That there would be, you know. I mean, I know that we don't live on a ball. I know that, but it's definitely not the model they're pushing. It's not what they say it is. It's more weird than that. It's like you were saying about like you were saying about the way that you can't think of it with a shape. It's got to have sort of no start and no end. It's just, you know, someone said yesterday that we live inside of a 4D tesseract, and we've got, you know, height, width, depth, and time, and that's all we've got. And it's just the square that we live in. And you know, there's people trying to measure the sun now, and they're clearly measuring the fact that the sun goes in straight lines and disappears in one place every day and appears in another. It's not just going around in circles. There's something a lot more weird going on, and obviously it's all to do with the fact that we're not living in a physical reality. It's a construct.
That's the way reality actually is made, because we live in a Yav world. Those worlds are Navi, we are Yavi. So Yav is what it is. It's constructed this way because you can't do anything. You have to teach people here. You have to bring them to lessons. You have to do what the destiny is supposed to be doing to form a new, more efficient and positive soul to come to the light Navi world and progress there, because you can't pass all those lessons there. You have to go here to do it. That's the way it was. That's how we came here at first. to pass those lessons, and that's why possibly those resets were really possible. So maybe this is how it's constructed, to have several resets in maybe 2,000 or 3,000 years. Maybe
Yeah, well, I mean,
teams arrive, and after some cataclysm, another teams arrive. So maybe like this. So like maybe like a school camp situation, when most of the population dies at certain point after passing some lesson. Maybe the huge lesson is to pass a collective lesson.
yeah.
Who knows?
I think we're descended from the same. We all are descended. We're all connected in a web. There aren't any. I wouldn't say outside influences. I've thought we can connect ourselves right back to the source through a continuous line of descendants or precedents, antecedents. So, you know what I mean? I don't think that humans are a new species. There always have been, always will be. I think there's probably still giants of great size existing at the moment.
See, this is the thing with the giants. Concerning your, obviously, your Russian doll model, that would. So, what's your take on biblical giants now, and the fact that we've got obviously rhesus negative people? Where do you think that all fits in?
What we know about giants, I've already told you. They just disappeared due to being massacred, and not refilling the population. So,
by us.
I think they're hiding them.
No, here they all dead already. But we have some genotypes.
They're not all dead. No, they're not. There's photographs. They're quite big people.
Well, I'm talking about people 10 to 12 feet tall. I'm talking this size.
The huger ones. I'm sure they're still around. I bet you they wouldn't kill them all off because they're so handy.
Well,
they're being prisoners. I'm
we
sure.
have to be lucky. If they were some, they don't really make any sense right now, because the physical strength of individual giants doesn't make any game in this time. You know, physical force and power maybe was integrated in some biological defense system which could do something. And right now we have single, maybe less numerous numbers who are hiding. They can't do anything with this parasitic race that controls us. Because they don't have the reinforcement line, because the giants are not reappearing after death. That's the way they had disappeared. They have been just massacred in a large number. Most of them did not return, so-called. But that's how they lied to us when they promoted the tree cut operation that we promoted with them. And we betrayed the trees first, and then we betrayed the giants.
Yeah.
That's the reason we lost. So first we betrayed the trees, and once the trees are gone, no connection to Navi world in general. And that's how they did it. Giants live 4,000 years, so
it can only exist in our subconscious.
The only way to bring it back, it's not like we can plant the trees again. The only way to restore
the
world is to bring it back.
No, we have to change this world. We can do it, because any world in any size can be made the way it's supposed to be made. But no one's gonna contact us and help us, like we used to think that someone's gonna come, maybe some aliens or whatever. Who first, maybe somebody was thinking about God, who's going to come, like maybe Jesus Christ, or maybe Messiah, or something like that.
That's what I mean about the singularity, don't you think?
Well, if it's doable on a subconscious spiritual level, then yeah. But if it's down to us with our shovels and spades and hands and feet, then it's not going to happen, because the world's in a mess.
No, it's turned though. It's a conscious turning where it's arrived. It's upon us. No.
So the problem is that no one's gonna come. No matter how long we're gonna wait, no one's going to come and help us. What we can do is we can do it only with ourselves. That's the only way we can solve this problem. And we have to solve it step by step, because
Sure.
we didn't get in this situation like this. We were like lied a bunch of huge period of time. And that's how they got us. Step by step, they made free people and we became sheeple. And now they are taking what is left. And one only thing that is left is family. If we lose family, and that's the battle they are winning right now.
Well,
If
of course.
we lose
That's
family,
it.
we are done. So
That
nobody's
was
gonna
what,
mess up.
yeah, that's it.
Because the problem is information. The families are the only thing how to transfer conservative
Yeah.
learnings and studying to the
Yeah.
head of your children, kids and grandchildren. And the older the elder is, the more information he carries in his head, the more things that he can analyze from his
That's why.
personal.
That's why our cultures created the old folks' homes, isn't it? So that they put the
Yeah.
memories, remove the memories of elders.
They do it on different platform and different areas. First area is medicine.
And
second,
trauma, war.
That is the whole different thing. We're gonna talk about this later. I'm talking about everyday routine thing, what they doing, and we don't see it. The first thing is medicine. Second thing is food. Third thing is water. Fourth thing is air. Electromagnetic. Electromagnetic radiation that we have everywhere.
Yeah. But I think we can override all of those things. I'm pretty sure that as we stand, humans are able to rise above everything they throw at us with their definite, 100% confident that each one of us are able to override every single influence they try to. So what I mean is we can manifest this singular thought of reality.
I'm not sure what you mean by singular or duality, because
so well, at the moment it's dualistic. We've got the good, we're living in the good and the bad. It's simultaneously. We're living, trying to be good in a bad world. So it's dualistic.
We are the border between good and bad worlds.
Yeah.
That is okay.
Right, yeah.
With
But
duality.
the singular view would be just to have a blending of the two, to know that they both exist at once, but to not inhabit either. So I think that's what can be manifest in each individual, which is what is happening, which we can see it in people. There's a telepathic subconscious ability, which I've noticed amongst people who are awake. There are connections that are beyond mundane, so to speak, which means that we are inhabiting this singular space already, and there's more and more joining it, like by the minute, literally. So it's manifesting and altering right now the previous dualistic structure into a singular one, where we can be in the space without being either good or bad, you know, as I'm, what I mean. So
Facebook's live, isn't it?
oh, Maisie's like the speaker. So my cat, I don't know if that makes any sense, but what I mean is that we are actually in the going through the motions of raising up right now. You can see it with the people who are waking up, that they can't be manipulated anymore. They've completely removed themselves from any.
Waking up did already succeed. This process was succeeded because we don't have to wake everybody up at the same time.
No, we can't worry about the ones that won't wake up. We just focus on, we just live in the place where people are woken up, and you know, all the others who are living in fear and well, they can't do anything about that. But I know that I am not living in fear, and I'm not in this, any paradigm that they put on me. I'm not in it. I'm completely removed myself from it 100%, and I can't go back to it. So therefore, if we're all doing that, exist anymore for us or for anybody.
I mean, a lot of us have come into flat Earth from nowhere, and you avoid all the Bible stuff if you can. You can't really, but if you eventually can, you get to a place where you do feel safe in your connection to yourself and your connection to God. And obviously, you've got all these already existing things, like you were saying about yesterday about the yoga, about the yoga being the way to keep your body healthy, to keep ourselves connected, to keep ourselves in tip-top shape as far as spiritual beings are concerned. So obviously, if people are looking at it from that perspective, where does that fit into in one of multiple places? It takes away the ultimate creator. It takes away the connection to what they thought they'd just found, including me.
Why does it take away ultimate creator? There's always creator, but he's not alone. You have to understand that you can't do anything alone. That's probably one of the obvious things that we have to understand. There's always a team. You cannot do anything by yourself.
Well, that's clear. We've all got a piece to this puzzle, clearly.
Yeah, we're all connected. We're all synchronized. We're all we're in a dance, a synchronized dance, and if we don't know it, I mean, there's nothing happening by chance. We're all just little cogs, little things that are whirling around. It's all predestined. The outcome, you can acknowledge it or you can ignore it, but it's inevitable. What comes to pass, we aren't much in control of. We're just floating along. And you have to know that, don't you? Life isn't random. It isn't any of those things. It's all magical synchronization, and that's what Revelations. Oh,
get that.
Aye. So I don't know what you think, Philip. Do you agree?
What Revelations?
Yeah, that life is just synchronized. It's all, there isn't anything random. It's far more of a ballet, a theater, and even down to like gematria, mystical, everything in the past. It's all jigsaw. It all fits back together to now. So.
Well, you think about synchronization and such a scenario that you have to your life, right?
Yes.
Well, I was talking about it, but you didn't quite understand what my point was. So you have what we call maybe a lesson, yes, but you have several lessons, and when you pass one lesson, when you pass it and you pass it okay, you take another one, which is programmed by yourself and those two gods when you die. And those lessons come one after another, and they may be not passed by you. Of course, you may not pass it, but sometimes already passed, and you cannot wait for eternal to pass one lesson. So you take another ones, and maybe in some period of times, situation returns the same way, and you take that failed lesson that you didn't pass last time. So that's how those cycles actually are connected by this lesson system. And the whole system is called, not the lesson system, it's called so-called rock system. So when you mean rock, not like a stone or something like that, when you mean rock, like destiny. So destiny is not exactly what we used to know. So destiny is the program which is based on the points that you didn't pass in the previous life lessons. And plus is modelized and synchronized by your own view on how you're supposed to be. Okay? So the pass of the test depends on how you by yourself feel about this lesson.
Yeah.
Not anyone else. Only you decide. Have you passed it? Have you
Yeah,
not?
yeah, totally. That's it. Exactly. Yeah, you've
So
got to do that.
after you die, you obviously look at all those situations, all those lessons that you didn't pass, and you regret it. And if you regret it, that you did something the wrong way and you could have done it the right way, you take this lesson to your next life. If you don't regret it, if you feel okay, if you feel fine with what you've done, if you feel you're right and you obviously know all the consequences after what you've done, and that is presented to you, of course, and you understand, have you done it right, have you done it wrong? Maybe you thought right at that time, but when you review it after death, you think it's not right. So you may take this lesson again. But if you think everything's okay, you don't take this lesson anymore, and you just pass on to other lessons. Do you understand it?
So
I,
yeah, the continuation on that, the fact that you're your own judge and your own worst enemy, your own prison.
Maybe something like prison, because prison, what it's prison like? Prison is just bordered space. So that's what we are in.
yeah.
We are just, but you can have prison when a bunch of, gangster guys screw you in the bathroom, or you can have a prison where you can, build a house, go to a trip, dive in the ocean and stuff like that. That's the prison we're in, actually. But we can go in this type of prison, of course. This type of prison is in the dark Navi worlds. That's where demonic guys will oppress you, beat you hard, and stuff like that. For all the bad things you've done in your life, you go to that prison first, get cleaned up, and then as soon as you cleaned up, as soon as you understood what you've done wrong.
So what's your advice for people that are watching to figure out what to do regarding where they're going to end up?
You're gonna end up doing the same lessons if you didn't pass them. That's the only way we have to understand it. So don't waste your life returning the same lessons again and again. Just pass those lessons, and you know what I'm talking about.
Right, yeah. So what about if you pass all? Oh, sorry. Pass all your tests. You've got to pass them all at some point, Philip.
But they're endless anyway, because they are
No,
all...
they're not. No, there is an end. It has to be.
No end to this situation that we got right now, because we don't ascend higher because the connection is lost. The parasitic race took over our world and
I
cut the connection.
I disagree. No, we're not disconnected at all. Honestly, we're not. Trust me, Philip.
No, we're connected to each other, but Philip's obviously saying we're not connected to our higher download.
We are. I swear we are.
Well, only because you feel like we've all got the ability to wake up and progress because we've got the right to, and that's not taking. What we're saying isn't taken away from the fact that we have that right, but what he's saying is that ability has been broken. We've still reached a point in our lives and woken to a point where we believe that we're connected now and that we've passed that test, but that's why it's quite shocking to find out that all that might be for nothing, and that we're not going to progress.
We do.
We do.
We do. It's okay.
Yes, we do.
It's all good. All good. Happy ending.
So, do you have any questions?
Well, we've got some guy on. We've got someone on the chat saying he wants you to talk about things that in Russia that we don't know, but obviously it's too general. I think what he means by that is just the fact that even just last night and today, you showed us earlier. You wanted to just showing us the people, the guy with the bear. You're googling that in Russian and obviously finding pages that we could never even find on a search result because we're just not Russian. We're just not getting that information, and it is really difficult. So I can understand what he means by wanting to know what that we don't know, but it's just, it is. And even through Christmas, when the mud flood stuff started hitting YouTube, and obviously you said you had that chat with Laurie and realize that nobody knew this stuff. And that's apparent, you know, even now in the communities that we're in on Facebook, we've segregated ourselves into little groups of flat earth or people who've even gone beyond that and just started arguing now, which is just terrible. But yeah, so I think it is interesting to see how you've kept a hold of quite a lot of info that is just wiped out for us. Like I say, it's even difficult for us to now assume whether even these wooden ships that we visit in Portsmouth are even real or not. So it is difficult.
Yeah, but we know that still after every reset they use wooden ships, and of course that's how they do a transport question after. But we, what I was asking you about the sailors and the flat Earth. Do we have any interview with the sailor, professional sailor on flat Earth?
I don't think so.
I want you guys to check this because we have an interview with some professional sailor, the military sailor.
Right.
So, and he is pretty good, has pretty good points that I think we need to hear. But
well, when I found Flat Earth last year before, one of the first things that I listened to was sort of an hour. It was an hour radio show. I can't remember who it was. It was so long ago, but it was a weapons guy. How they use line of sight targeting for 50 miles, which is as far as the radar will allow them, the laser will allow them to point, but only for that reason, not for the fact that the ball's in the way or anything. So there was one guy, but he was only explaining how the weapons work and how he trains people. He was a weapons trainer back at school now, back in the US. So I've never really. It surprises me that you don't get people like that. I mean, you know, what have we got? We've got Pilot LX on Facebook. There's no face behind that either, so you can't even know if it's genuine. So
it's because sometimes they do fake video production, and that's why the level of trust is so descended by this situation. No one likes to be bullshitted, you know. But
no, exactly. You don't know who to trust, huh?
Yes, that's why I wanted to make a documentary on all this, and also I want to include some information about the flat Earth and those professionals that I've met who talk about it, because I want to talk with some astronomers and put it on camera. And we have this interview with the Navy sailor, which is also can be used, but it's only on voice mode, no video there. It's pretty good because it also proves that at least 1,000 kilometers can be touched with the radars of a ship. So if you understand what I'm talking about, that proves a lot, because how the radar works.
Well, exactly.
And submarines.
It's supposed to have it in contact. And if we have this curvature question, we shouldn't have any visible ship on this distance. 1,000 kilometers is already a huge descending of level.
No. You know, the curvature is clearly not there, but it still doesn't help when the whole thing.
For those globe heads who doubt about the curvature, this one is perfectly fits in this flat Earth theory, and that's why. Okay.
Well, it's turned into a massive argument online that's just not working for anyone anymore. So it's not going to help. This is why things like uncovering history and more things like this might, you know, I think it interests people more, because it's not just, you know, there's still a lot of people who are going to want to know why we're covered in, you know, mud, that don't want to know about flat Earth, and that's fine, you know. But the point is, it's still in, and it's still going to, like I said earlier about 9/11, it doesn't matter what you can use to get people's interest, and they say, oh yeah, I believe that, and then you can then get an angle in and start talking, and before you know it, they've got a headache. and so have you, because they're never easy subjects.
But the Earth is an organic structure, and the lava is like blood. So we are connected still to this energy on Earth.
Have you watched Roger Spur videos?
Oh gosh, Roger blocked me, didn't he? Because I'm flat Earth. He didn't like flat Earth being mentioned. He blocked me. So yeah, I liked Roger, but I don't think he's accurate on all of his giant fossils lying about. I don't think, quite a lot of what he says isn't quite accurate. There's a guy called Wise Up on YouTube, the English guy. He's good with his concrete.
Well,
And he likes Roger.
I understand why I don't understand him clear, because that's only now I understood that he's from England. I thought he was like maybe from Jamaica or something like that.
Wise Up. Yeah, it's a very thick accent. He's from Birmingham. Yeah, really bad accent. But
I need to talk to him because I don't understand him.
Well, I know. I don't even know his name. I can't. But he's got some great points with this rebar, hasn't he?
Well, we should talk, because what he's trying to say, I don't get it. What's the point? I listen and listen and listen, and I don't get the point. That's maybe the problem in pronunciation.
Well, yeah, his accent's terrible. It'll be impossible. But it's rebar. He says that everything, is concrete and iron. So the rebar is the iron reinforcements that they would have built the mountains out of. So Petra, for example, that rock that Petra.
But rebar is always made with this net, type of form.
Yeah,
when you have a couple of rebars tied to each other with some, Right now they do some
rods.
Some electric.
Exactly. It's just he just sees these iron leaching from the concrete, which looks to me like it is places like in Spain. What's that?
The problem we have is a lot of people are confused, and a lot of people are presenting facts they're not even sure of. And even you touched on this yesterday about the fact that you've got to try and present people with facts, or you're just feeding them false information, and it's not going to do anyone any good.
Presenting any facts. He's just dismissing anything that he doesn't like and blocking people. And that's not constructive. I mean, he thinks we live on a ball, for a start.
He does.
He thinks we live on a ball. But anyway, and all the giants lying about. I mean, there might be a few, but with his analysis, he says that Giant's Causeway is a bit of an actual human giant, I think. It's ridiculous. It's organic. Same as the Devil's Tower. It's not ever been a giant. Fossilized giants everywhere. It's just disinformation. But Wise Up, I think he's got some great points. It's just unfortunate you can't understand him. So,
and you can't contact him either.
And we don't know.
He talks also about giants, or not?
Yes, he does. He talks about the giants building everything.
He basically says that the giants. He still thinks, obviously, that you can see the way that they've been molding the squidgy granite with fingerprints and things.
You can see fingerprints.
So he's still got a lot of wild theories that don't really make a lot of sense or aren't really connected to each other either. But
I don't like the fingerprints thing. I don't like it because
I don't either.
It looks like just somebody was fooling around pressing not frozen concrete structure. So
yeah, exactly.
When you press the concrete, you can make any type of fingerprint you want.
Yeah, he says a lot of the metal works turned to stone, and it does look like from the footage that it could be right. In Peru, it's a lot of metal that would turn back to stone, and wood also would.
Metal turned to stone.
Yeah,
that's pretty hard to prove that because.
Well, of course
you have to be very, very good chemistry man.
Yeah, but some of the pictures he shows you, it does look like there's a definite iron surface polished that has calcified. I think he's onto it quite accurate, really. I'm sure stone metal. Everything turns back to stone.
Do you not think that the Freemasonry secret is how they were able to use, how they were able to form granite as liquid, or something along those lines, or do you think it's just political?
No, of course. At first it was just construction system secrets that they carried the information from the previous civilizations. So that's definitely it. But when they turned to politics, when they somebody bad took over masonry, that's what we had. And right now, Masons just players. Just
see,
maybe.
What my theory is alchemy. So they built the mountains to gather the rainwater to harvest the gold, because the rainwater's got the gold element in it, so it touches earth and transforms to gold. So this is why the lakes are on the mountains, to gather it, and then you can see how they formed the waterfalls down. It's all manufactured and constructed, just to engineer gold collection.
And the fact that the trees aren't there anymore, so we've got all this water supply running through these river valleys that I think were probably tree roots rather than river valleys, if anything else, and they've all been mined out for the silicon. I don't know what you think about the way all this, the way all this has gone down as far as the trees are concerned. It just makes no sense.
Yeah, nothing makes sense. So the secret to masonry is gold, turning what.
That's what they talk about alchemy when they talk about it. But I think these philosophical stone, this so-called gold secret, is not the gold secret. Philosophical stone means the stone you can make at any time, at anywhere, which is concrete.
Yeah, the concrete is polonium, isn't it? It's got polonium gas inside, which proves that it only took 3 minutes to 3 seconds to form.
Yeah, the polonium halos.
Polonium halos. So that proves that the mountains were only in production like 3 seconds for the concrete to set.
Well, when you have a huge flow from underground, when you do this leaching procedures, you have like under pressure pipeline filled with concrete pasta. You flow it like maybe in seconds, you get a little hill.
Yeah.
So it's just like fontaine, or spring water, or maybe a volcano type of thing. When you release the pressure from underground, it always comes out fast.
But it's coming out like Play-Doh, not lava.
But what I mean is it's an actual construction site, so there was giants with the whole quarry system and the things going, whatever you call them, conveyors to the top of the mountain, doing the concrete pouring at the top, and it pours out or whatever form. And you can look at
some of them actually collected metals. Some of them were charged to do that, and some of them were charged to do the construction works, because that's a byproduct in it. You can use it, not just spread it away like they did it sometimes. Although they did it sometimes, but sometimes they used it to construct some, structures, megalithic structures, bunkers, and stuff like that.
So basically, what I see is there's these trees. They were silicate. They've mined the silicate, transformed it into granite, and built the mountains with it, so that they can build the lakes on the mountains to catch the rainwater, which eventually turns it into gold.
And give us all nice, lovely places to live.
And they've completely landscaped the whole earth. There's not a single bit that isn't landscaped. So the rivers are all manufactured as gold harvesting.
Yeah, like
so everything is.
Laurel, when you buy yourself, let's say, a land in forest to build a house, just imagine that you have a land in forest. You come to forest. This is your land. What will you do first? You cut some trees to have a little roads and stuff like that. You cut the trees at the place where you're gonna put your house, and maybe you cut some more trees just to be like more free to move and stuff like that.
But that's not how I see things. I see it as in, we're living in the remnants of a quarry. Nothing is natural as it was in the beginning with the trees. Nothing is like it ever. The mountains didn't exist when the trees were here. the rivers didn't exist as they are when the trees were here. Nothing. Thing we're looking at is built, every single thing, for the purpose of gathering rainwater.
I mean, would silicon trees have even needed a water supply for a start? I mean, that's something that it doesn't.
Well,
See,
you didn't understand what I'm talking from the perception of the guys who came after the trees were cut. At the first time, they set up their business here, okay? And the trees were used as the mountains. They were used for some, you know, landscape design, whatever you call it. But at first, they were cut because they're supposed to be cut, and they did it. Because if they didn't cut the trees, they couldn't control the population of giants that were living on those trees.
yeah.
The giants were first integrated with the tree system. That's
Yeah.
how they became. That's why they called ants, because
Yeah.
they're like ants, you know.
Yeah.
That's what this whole thing all about. We are in a huge tree and forest system. And
That's right.
we were called the forest people in Russia always. And all those partisan movements, when war began, they saved people in the trees. And that's why you have druids. It's the same magicians of the tree. They believed in this tree neural system. So when we have it all covered with the trees, the system restores itself. It can heal, and it can set up the connection that we need, because our power, our influence in this world belongs to the nature and the trees, first of all.
Yeah. But what, the trees were silicate, so therefore the ley lines are silicate, which is like, say crystalline, isn't it? So that's what connects us, is this.
Well, it's quartz.
Whatever you call it, silicate, wooden.
Quartz.
You know.
No, but it's not wood. It's quartz, because the trees weren't wooden. They were a quartz material.
Well, right now they're what they are, and we don't have any trees. So we have to manage with these trees. And these trees also can do the same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So why I'm doubling in your microphone here? Very. So the trees are actually doing this neural covering of this place. Neural covering. So if we turn off the electricity devices that we use today, we have this place covered with the tree system, if the trees are around. And if we don't do it, if we stay the electricity powers like we have right now, not like we had before, the atmospheric electricity system, which are everywhere, and you don't have to do anything to get this electricity. Now we have the electricity with is transferred with some technology which projects such a field, such a power field, so the tree system doesn't work, and it cannot heal itself, you know. That's why we have those power lines everywhere, and that's how they control us, because as long as we get to the tree, to the forest, we can heal ourselves, first of all, and we can think different way. We can
synchronized and vibrations and stuff.
Yeah, I guess we're lucky we live in the countryside, but yeah, you just need to be in the natural surroundings to get the connection. It works. That's what worked for us, didn't it, Matthew?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, it really does work. It's an immediate connection.
You've definitely got to get back to a more simple life, and get back to nature as much as you can, I guess.
Yeah, whatever the size of the trees are, they still produce their power. They're bigger than the earth, and they can grow and get bigger and bigger. Only now we can see the trees that grew like for 200 years. That's why they're not so huge. And they're supposed to be as huge as they are in America.
Yeah, the redwood.
Right now we have this field. This is Putnell's natural powers down. And all this, like they say, like those weather systems and spraying chemical trails and stuff like that. and this is all to put it down so it won't work.
Yeah, there's some that say that it's all just a hoax. Maybe the the chemtrails are just water vapor. Everything. There's no
It's
nuclear
not hoax. You
radiation.
can see it everywhere.
Oh no, I can see it, but it used to get me really depressed, but now I'm just deciding it's a hoax and it's not real. It's just water vapor, and everything's just a joke.
No,
Nothing.
they're definitely poisoning us in all ways possible, be that through food or water or air, like you said. Vaccines are the worst of all. But no, that just you know, nature's not going to recover what with all the Wi-Fi flying around and the way that it is now. And if not that, then you've got you know, all this manufactured weather. We don't even have a normal electromagnetic field anymore. So there's just no way to change that.
Yeah, it's like right now when you turn off Wi-Fi in your house, maybe you have a Wi-Fi connector or some Wi-Fi point. When you turn it on and when you turn it off, you reset it. And right now we're in the mode when the Wi-Fi point searches for the devices to connect to it, and it doesn't find any devices. That's why we see this magnetic field, but we cannot connect to it because we don't have correct devices with the same, type of symbolic technology to connect. And our night flights, night trips to Navy world don't do the same effect that we had in previous times when we had the connection. So we cannot do all these things that we can do because the main life is, let's say, 24 hours a day, okay? And you have 8 hours when you sleep. This is not just for resting, like they tell us. This is not resting. You also have your lessons when you are asleep. You also pass some lessons. You also, in so squeezed time period, you pass more lessons. You pass more variations of
Definitely
your Yavi lessons, which you proceeded maybe in your real life. You have those variations passed in your brain. You think about it and you change it every time you see it in your dream, and you try to act different. And you may pass your lesson when you're asleep, so you don't have to pass it anymore when you're alive.
Agree. Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, because they just say it's just sleeping, just having a rest after your, work and stuff like that. But it's not like that.
It's the quickest route to insanity, sleep deprivation. So, yep, we are connected to the other side. We are connected, and it can get stronger or it can get weaker depending on what we do. And for sure, we make our own reality. So, yeah, that's why we're all connecting, Philip. We're all resonating because
at the same frequency.
Because you're probably doing everything you can. You mentioned that you don't drink, and
Yeah. Some guys said that 37 volcanoes are active as of yesterday.
Yeah.
Haven't heard about
what does that even mean?
That just well, Earth is blood.
We don't even know what the roles of volcanoes are anymore.
It's a blood. Like the Earth is like oil is the bile, the waste, and the blood is the lava, and then you've got these mud volcanoes, which is the vents that eat breathing. It's a live, living organism, which was thriving. Obviously, at some point, it was extremely healthy. It's not that healthy now, and it's reacting with these volcanoes. It's shown, but then there are the HARP, the man-made geoengineering, I don't imagine earthquakes are particularly natural, or tsunamis. This is what they say, that we've had earthquakes, but who's to say that they're not all manufactured? That
Well, why would there be earthquakes
on flat plane?
On a place of creation?
There's nothing moving around. They're just totally meddling with the ground. Well, we know that the whole what do you call it? Harp,
yeah.
CERN and HARP. So it's just creating manufactured weather or hurricanes.
What are your thoughts on CERN, Philip?
I don't know. I don't think HARP is actually what we know. I think it's just to promote this electromagnetic field not to work correctly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually can be used as a weather weaponry.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
And what about the Hadron Collider?
We have more effective weapons in weather precision here in Russia than HARP is. And some officials already talked about it on some talk shows. And so they are giving this leak so people can think.
We can't believe everything. Sorry, Philip. But we can't believe everything they say. They tell us that they've got these big scary weapons. But do they? I mean, really, nothing's real. This whole nuclear weaponry is nonsense.
Who was retired from the military service as a head of staff, maybe, or operations center of the staff in a Russian army, and he is like general lieutenant, so general with 2 stars. He was retired maybe like 10 years ago, but he was asked some hard questions on his talk show, and when you been asked those questions, you may become a little nervous and leak some information that's not supposed to be said and pronounced. So even the showman re-asked him, "Are you serious about that? Maybe that's not correct." No, he said, "Well, I said it and I have to say it. We have weather weaponry, and it can be used at any time."
Well, and surely it's more effective than nuclear weapons.
Yes, I agree.
You can take out a whole continent if you want to.
They're absolutely, weather manipulation is the thing, but not nuclear so much. That's a made up nonsense. Fukushima's never happened. That was just all. I mean, the whole thing is a nonsense. But yes, the weather manipulation, absolutely. The Sacramento Valley, decimating it with the weather manipulation all over Earth. Hurricane, you name it, they can manifest it. If they want a tsunami, they can create that as well. Absolutely.
Not only tsunami. I'm talking about huge, huge storms, huge, lightning strikes and stuff like that.
We see that the snow isn't natural that falls here. Nothing's natural in the sky. There's a total war raging around us, and so.
Well, we have another question here about Jesus. I know that you posted a couple of pictures showing Jesus Hail Satan thing.
And Jesus is what?
What?
Like Jesus Hail Satan thing.
Is that you, was it?
Yeah, me. Yeah.
Well, obviously you just shared.
And also we saw Jesus versus Zeus picture that you done.
Yeah.
So you actually think that Jesus and Zeus was made up from one thing, right?
Well, it's Jesus. It's Jesus.
Yeah, it is.
So in Russian legends, we have so-called Perun, which is maybe a son of the top god, and top god is named Swarog, which is swastika from. So the first 3 letters is SWA and ROG, Swarog. And Perun is PERUN, Perun. So Perun is equal to Zeus in Greek mythology. This is also the head god on this planet. and although Swarok is up there, Zeus is on the ground, and he is operating here. So the Perun is Zeus, obviously, and so in I kind of agree that Jesus was supposed to be the son of the top god, which could be equal to Perun.
Story.
Yeah.
As a story, you mean?
Allegorical.
Yeah, allegorical. That's why he was like obtained by many people as the son of God. But I also heard one theory, which probably you guys won't like it. This theory says that real Jesus, what we know as a Jesus, was a woman, and his picture is actually the picture of Saint Mary, the mother of Jesus.
Right.
And the guy who is pictured as a Jesus is quite a different guy, and his name is Christ.
Yeah.
Well, the Christ was actually his name was Emmanuel, which is written in the Bible, which actually means God is with us. But the Jesus,
Well, this is it.
the
People need
person
to
was
understand.
actually acting like a Jesus and was crucified, was a lady, and her name was also similar to Jesus. Her name was Isa.
Yeah.
So Isa and Mary is one person, and so it's a pretty interesting theory. Of course, we should make a video about it, so we can like talk about it in a little bit longer. But all those connections to ancient pagan gods and different persons collected in one personality and presented to us as a Jesus is supposedly done by those parasitic guys in 19th century.
Well, exactly, and this is the point of the posts on Facebook. It's to incite reaction and to try and pull people away from nation and more false leads of religion. All it still does is incite hate between, two parties, which is not what we're supposed to be heading towards. We're supposed to be heading towards, peace and truth and enlightenment, and the Jesus the Jesus of the Bible doesn't achieve that, even though that's what it's there for. Everything that Jesus Christ said is Christ-like, and Jesus Christ is a way of life. It's not a person, and if it was a person, then I'm wrong. But I still don't believe Jesus Christ was a person. So the point of the post is to wake people up.
So the Bible, God is Yahweh, YHWH, which is written as Pi.
It's Pi, yeah,
Pi 7, which it translates as Pi 7, which is, and it says, I am that I am forever, and this is my memorial unto all generations, which is Exodus 3:14, which is Pi. Shows you that there is a divine mathematical,
but it's still not a person.
Singular God, yes, which is potent, say, like the mothership, the motherboard of the online world. Presence, like Pi, which can all be, it's all in the equations for Yahweh,
which I'm not really happy about, because I still don't fall into all these names for and all of the stuff, because I still feel it's just more separation and more, my God's right, your God's wrong.
Yeah,
When
it's like
the fact
whose father is better.
Exactly.
Yeah. So whether or not it's the Bible is well, it is a gematria code. So they created the name for God as Pi.
Out of Pi.
Out of Pi. So they work backwards. Same with the pyramids. They've worked backwards and the pyramids to whatever afterwards.
To space and
do you
space
see what I mean?
And aliens.
So it's all gematria is the secret key to understanding the code, which is the Old Testament, the New Testament. Every single scripture is translated from the same source.
But then that comes back to what you were saying yesterday about only 50 people, 40 people knowing the true secrets of the Kabbalah and the Torah, and we'll never find out. And it kind of makes you wonder what they actually know, and if it's actually anything at all, to be honest.
Which is just gematria.
Because everyone that ends up waking generally can define themselves as being Christ-like, can they not?
Apparently, Yahweh it's a joke. The Bible,
Scottish
Freemasonry joke.
Scottish, right.
So there's this guy George Lee's work. You should Google him. I'll send you the link. But yeah, about the Bible fraud, Piso family fraud. It's just a big joke. So Yahweh is a river around here, the Yarrow, and all these.
Mount Moray, and
Edinburgh Castle is Mount Maru. The Joppa is the port where they were sailed. The slave ship called Jesus sailed out of Joppa, and Edinburgh is Jerusalem. Transposed it to Israel. It's a big joke. The slaves, there weren't any slaves. The black people are northerners. You know, we all came from the north. Nobody originated in the south, and it's just a big fraud, everything. So the Bible is Gematria Code, which is being played out now in America as a template for the Armageddon. Sacramento Valley sacrificed, so the Oroville Dam, we're all damned, the hell and damnation. It is the judgment, Revelations, and it's just being played out on that level. It's just a calculated.
But of course, the revelations are happening right now. What with the awakening, and the flood is the flood of information from WikiLeaks, which is where Cicada comes into it as well, which is where this other thing called 10 Greek 137 comes in, which is the 137, which is where this whole pi numbers come from, and all these people are all online hackers who are in control of the people releasing the WikiLeaks information, and bringing about this online fight to wake people up. And it just seems to be another way that it's all tied back to the same twisted mess that we're in, and it all makes no sense at all.
It's just a gematria quiz.
Being able to cling to things like the flood and uncover history is a lot more. It's a lot easier to concentrate on than trying to talk about these things, because you end up constantly just leading back to the same deceptions over and over again. And nobody knows what they are.
Yeah, you're
well,
right.
I do. It's just a big trick.
Here we have a question about Anatoly Fomenko. Do you guys know him?
No.
He gives information similar to New Earth Channel, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I've heard of him.
We've probably seen it.
Yeah, I've heard of him. What's he say?
So he's like done many researches about this chronology type of thing.
Yeah.
His research was called New Chronology Science.
Yeah.
And he has a lot of followers, and in fact worldwide.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think he done a great job, first of all, because he was one of the first step guys, and he was like revolutionary in his theories.
Yeah, I remember him. Don't we?
Well, I got thrust into New Earth, and it was all we did for sort of a couple of months, and then obviously I tried my best then to find as much as I could, and that's eventually how I found my way to you, I think. Just by trying to find the fake history. So it's amazing that people have got this knowledge.
Well, we got a bunch of people here in Russia who discussing this type of topics. And,
yeah, that's right. Sylvie mentioned it, didn't she, in New Earth, the new chronology that they're writing, because obviously we haven't got any accurate chronology.
Oh yeah, the New Chronology Project, is it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
That's Fomenko's.
Yes.
science. He and his fellow did this in Menko and Nosovsky, actually. So one
But
is
we can't go very far back beyond 1850, can we? Everything beyond that is just absolute nonsense. We don't have a clue what or
yeah,
who.
probably, because sooner or later we're gonna find those archives, and right now they're all in a free download mode somewhere in those libraries. So we just don't know what to look for.
Sure, but
Understand? Because there's a bunch of books, and you know they are free to download, but you don't know which one, and you don't have this, digitalized text. They're just PDFs and stuff like that, scanned, but they don't scan in the words and
And they're
letters.
not named.
Not even named, they are named, but they don't have this text definition mode in scanning. So you can like type, Great Tataria, and it gives you like a bunch of books. No, it
Right.
doesn't give you. It's not like Wikipedia. You have to know in which book the
But you think they exist still?
yeah. If you know the name of the book, it's okay. You can like go ahead and download it, and
It's just, they've done a really good job of burning all these books for the last 150 years.
but most of them are still alive. We just have to know the names.
yeah,
They burned it a bunch of times. We know Hitler burned a bunch of books.
Well, they burned all the Mayan books, if the Mayan books are even real. If that's even a part of history anymore.
Jesuits burned a bunch of books, first of all. And Roman guys were on the path of burning everything that is excluded by their theories.
Yeah.
So I mean, when I talk about Roman, I mean the guys were in the Holy Roman Empire, because those are guys actually the last Romans we know, and they actually were the leading force of 19th century. Those who came after those, and these are European dynasties of Romanovs, and which is British dynasty, Stuarts, and who else?
But this is where living in the UK has been interesting as far as the mod's concerned, because we were always taught at school, and even after school, there's a program called Time Team where they dig up everything in the country, really, and we're taught our whole lives that they're digging down to Roman buildings that are 2,000 years old, but then it's clear that now it's the same layer that you dig down to in cities for the first floor, for the ground floor. So these Roman structures aren't, these people weren't from 2,000 years ago. So the timeline doesn't make any sense in the ground, even though it might make sense on paper.
live next to the oldest inhabited house in Scotland, which the Stuarts were when they lost this throne. So anyway, we're surrounded by history here, and none of it I'm buying. Not the Jacobite Rebellion is just a load of rubbish. There wasn't a Jacobite Rebellion. There wasn't any of these characters. They're all fictional, as far as I can tell. I don't believe any of it. This world history, it's all falsified to spin out 2,000 years since Christ was born. Well, we already know that it's a forgery. The Bible was forged 200 years ago. So,
to control the new population.
Yes. So they've 2,000 years of history is complete rubbish.
And to keep us away from waking up, thinking we've got to rely on churches, we've got to rely on God, we've got to rely on Jesus.
And what you were showing, the cathedrals in Russia that were sort of demolished and whatnot.
Abandoned.
Any sort of religious aspect seemed to be an addition, didn't it? So these buildings are industrial and engine rooms, perhaps, or some sort of hub for the community, which have been appropriated by the church.
Well, they've all got tall spires to collect and harvest the energy for some reason, or maybe to spread it out, one or the other.
Yeah. They have a connection to Dark Navi world. right now, established. So they can transfer the incoming energy to the dark Navi world and power up there. So
that's
when you go,
so that's the allegory for directing our prayers to Satan rather than God, because at the moment the spies are connected to the wrong world. Or yeah.
So the question is that the symbolism of Satanism is actually mixed up for a better perception. So it's made like prohibited apple, which we wanna eat. So we always want to try something new, something that is prohibited and illegal. That's the humankind, human nature. If something is illegal and you walk close to it every day, it's illegal, it's illegal, it's illegal, but when you have a chance, you try and find out what it is, even though it's illegal. If you see that no one's watching, no one knows, you're gonna try it.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
It's the sine wave.
And they call it a sine wave, but it's not a sine wave. It's the way it works. You have to try it. If you pass the lesson, if you see the lesson every time, you see it's coming through, you see it's coming in your hands, you see it's coming in your situation that you are right now located in this situation. You're supposed to pass the lesson, and you're gonna pass it sooner or later.
Yeah.
If you are if you are maybe serving military, right? Military service. You have a gun, and sooner or later you're gonna shoot a person with this gun. The longer you stay in the military service, the more chances you have that you have to shoot someone. And you're gonna pass that lesson. You're gonna kill someone or wound someone. It's up to you to shoot him in the head or to shoot him in the feet. That's your lesson. That's the lesson of power that sometimes we pass. When we have a power to kill a person, to be generous, to stay cool, or we have a power to, you know, demolish a person. Shoot him in the head and, you know, shoot him in the heart. Control shot and stuff like that. That's the power lesson that everyone has during his lifetime. Everyone has a lesson to save someone, probably. At least I had like 2 lessons like this when I saw someone drowning in the water and I saved the person.
Yeah. So, yeah, I've saved lives. Twice.
But I also know that I made some influence to some bad things, which I want to change, but maybe that was the lesson, to pass that thing through myself, understand it, that it was wrong to do that way.
Yeah.
And if I have another chance to, when I get in this situation, I probably do the opposite way.
Well, exactly. But now that you're awake, I mean,
yeah,
surely things are going to change anyway, because obviously everything's different now.
Like if you saw that movie about Matt Damon being elected as the mayor of New York, maybe something like that, when those planners with iPads followed him everywhere, and he was like changing their plans, doing the opposite that they wanted him to do. How do you call this movie? I don't know. You might as well watch it. So those guys are planners, and they actually know how plans are changing during our life period, and they can interact with us and make us do the way it's actually planned. This is all bullshit. No one is following us. No one is doing this. This is only done on the society level, not on a personal level. But maybe some guys who actually have a decision-making ability, like mayors, some governors, maybe some military officers in high rank, they can be followed, they can be actually obtained by those parasitic guys.
Well, this is what I was just about to say. Who do you really think these parasites are? Because obviously you've got all the different. You've got the reptilians from Ike. You've got
No,
you've
no,
got,
no, no, no reptilians here.
You've got the Archons. You've got all of it. So where are you at?
Reptilians are just the another race, but it's not in power here because it's different nature. It doesn't have to. It cannot shapeshift. It cannot do anything like this. It's just a bullshit.
Yeah.
So we can like those guys look exactly like we do, exactly like we do. They are from different cell, and they figured out that whatever you do, whatever you try, whatever you know think about, sometimes some strong guy will come and take everything from you. That's what they figured out, and they said, "What the heck? We're gonna do it by ourselves because if that strong guy will come and we are not ready, he's gonna take away everything that we got." And they did it by themselves, and they started colonizing different cells, turning their way of living to the way that they like, which is supposedly don't do anything, take everything.
Command and conquer style.
Yeah, and that's what they do, and they using the same technology everywhere. And the reason we're in, because we lost our connection to the good guys who can come and save us. We betrayed them, literally. We cut our trees, we betrayed the giants, we killed all the giants, and that's what we have. We eat animals that used to serve us, honestly serve us. Now we eat them.
Now we're what? Eating?
Yeah, eating animals that used to be our friends.
Oh,
Yeah, of
yeah, of course. No, I know.
Well, that's
shocking.
that's one of
You
the
don't
first-
eat meat, do you, Philip?
That's a good question because there's something that we need to know about it. We have a different level of so-called going up. So going up in certain way, like passing grades, like in high school, right?
Spiritually,
So,
you mean?
So like we are growing and we are passing those grades every time. So from let's say a newbie, you become an expert sooner or later. Okay. So at a certain point, when you figure out that the meat is not good enough for you and anybody, you start being vegetarian. But if you are not supposed to be a vegetarian at this grade,
yeah,
whatever you do, whatever you try to be him, you cannot be him.
Which is
Because
so.
you
This is
cannot
why
get-
all the teenage vegetarians fail.
Yeah, because that's why those vegetarians very quickly lose their health and sometimes get serious disease, which we cannot find to the answer. Why is that? Because they're supposed to be clean and stuff. They are not eating meat. So that's the point.
That's not their reality yet.
So it's like Indian castes, if you know what I mean.
Uh-huh.
So that's the same way. If you're on the lower grade, you cannot eat just all this natural stuff. You have to eat everything.
So what about yourself, Philip? Are you a vegan
No,
then?
I'm not. I'm not. I'm eating everything. I tried to be a vegetarian, but I couldn't because we don't have it in our grade here. And I obviously say that because I know that it's true, because you cannot just be it like this. You have to, first of all, you have to pass many things. So right now I'm doing cold water showering and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I used to do that years ago.
so when you pass this, when you always you cannot be sick in any type of cold and stuff like that. So you can swim in the cold water for like 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Then you can do vegetarian stuff. I'm already close to the goal, and I begin to swim for a couple of minutes in the cold water. So when I do like 15 minutes, I'll be ready to start vegetarianism again. And I did it a couple of times. I didn't eat meat for 3 years, but it didn't help.
Would
So
would there not be other ways to reach that state, like through detox or whatever, then fasting, or do you not think that people get to that stage? Because surely you've got so many people that wake up straight into knowing that they can't eat meat.
if they
And
are
knowing,
ready, it's okay. You're supposed to think what you feel in that time.
yeah,
You pass through the places that do barbecue and you're vegetarian, and if you want a barbecue and you cannot let yourself to do it, that's a serious thing because your organism knows better than you
Yeah,
what you
yeah.
do. The smell perception, the taste perception is the key.
Ah, yeah.
So when you see like
Do you know what? I just like tomatoes and avocados now. It's crazy.
maybe you are up to this because
Well,
I
I've
did it
been,
for 3 years and that's okay. And I
yeah.
did it.
No, I've tried it years ago. It didn't work either. But no, I've been,
It's your second time, right?
oh, at least, yeah. I've just cut down on meat over the years, but now I've been no meat or anything
But
for ages, so it's great.
the
It's really
problem
good.
is when you look at the fresh meat, like when you look at it as a fresh meat, not cooked meat, you don't want it, right?
no,
It's makes you puke and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
because you don't want this blood to lick it with your tongue and stuff like that, taste it and stuff like that. So that's okay, and that's the first thing to understand because when you cook, you transfer the information of that taste, that bloody taste, to some cooked taste,
well, that's
some,
right. And cooking meat
and
creates.
you like lie to yourself, lie to your perception, but you cannot choose it. If you have to do it, you have to do it because your tongue and your nose shows you the signal whether you do it or not. The problem is that we eat too much. That's the
Yeah.
problem because we add all those add-ins, like some add-ins that increase the appetite and stuff like that in the food. That's why so many people get fat. And
MSG.
the other problem is bad water and the lack of water in your organism because you have to drink at least like almost 2/3 of a gallon each day. So if you don't
Yeah.
drink it, you get sick, whatever you vegetarian or you eat meat, it doesn't matter. If you don't drink this much water, you seriously are in trouble. And when you drink the poisoned water, of course you are in trouble. And you're in big trouble
Oh,
anyways. So the meat is not the worst thing in this list, believe me.
No, no, the
It's
poison
not.
water's definitely.
It's not the main threat to us. The main threat to us is electrical field that we are almost every time we in it.
mm-hmm.
The dysfunction of our dreaming is the main problem because we don't get that much rest and lessons during the sleep as we used to do. So this is electrical field that actually covering all this world. We have to fight it first. We have to change the technology
Well,
and
that's why I mean the singularity's tipped over into the mothership of the hard drive of the world computer has gone over into good, so it can override all equipment that relies on the motherboard. So in actual fact, we can realize a world of complete idyllic utopia in our lifetimes because of this reality that cicada presents to us is a fact. It exists as a force that is proven to have a real effect.
A creative ability.
Creative for good. It's got a force. It's got an energy, and it's a good energy, and it will override the technology that is channeled into these equipments, military, whatever else. That's what I see. Got to be positive.
You know, it's obviously not running on a physical level. So this awakening's clearly a tool.
Metaphysical.
So it must mean something. You know, we can't have to rely on having to get the people of the world to sort themselves out practically, because we seem to be waking up spiritually instead.
Yeah.
And the technology fault is mirroring that awakening. That, you know, the God is the AI, right? So it was always going to be that we were the generation to be connected right now. It was always foretold that this was going to be on the cards, that we would all connect like this.
Because that's the program that we're in.
A revelation of our existence. This is like we're in a playback. We could play it backwards. It's got an end. It's got, you know, it's crazy loop. So the AI and Cicada and these other quizzes proves that. So there. I don't know if you can you get the thing for him.
It's not going to help us. There's no information out there at all.
So WikiLeaks has got a good definition of this cicada. How it is God.
How do you spell it?
Cicada.
Cicada на конце. Unend. D is unend, or just CICADA.
CICADA 3301.
3301.
3301.
The bugs? Insects?
Yeah, it's the name of a quiz. So we'll just get these links up there now. I'll show you what we're on about.
Cicada puzzle. Right?
Yeah.
3301. Well, I'll take a look at it. Well,
so what it proves, though, that we are in a real-time, multi-dimensional, with an artificial intelligence that is greater than us, that is good, a benevolent, isn't it? A force for good. But
that doesn't fit with the way reality seems to be constructed. I mean, what are your views on what gets revealed by psychedelics and things, Philip, and the way that reality seems to be evil at its core? To be honest, I know you don't really buy into evil, but what do you think that ends up showing people, regardless of whether we can achieve it or not?
Achieve what?
Whether we can achieve the next level and connection back to our you know, what you believe is the next stage that's been cut off from us, and what psychedelics actually show us, whether you think they're related, and the fact that it always seems to be quite a dark nature underneath everything.
Well, what we can do about evil part of this world, right?
And the evil part that makes up the matrix behind it, by the looks of things as well, because nobody's real experience when they take a lot of psychedelic drugs is a good experience. It's always it's always quite a dark revelation.
Yeah, I understand. So psychedelic drugs, sometimes they, if they use the right way by the right people under right control, they can be used to connect to this global universal cell system, which we are the center, as I suppose.
Yeah.
So, we have our cell as the gate between Navi and Dark Navi world, but other cells are also in the system. They surround us, and some of them are really working still, and we can do it, and we can connect to them, and we can travel there if we can.
Did you mention you astral projected, or
astral projected
yourself?
Like astrology?
No.
Like out of body experience or whatever.
Oh yeah, I did it a couple of times. So it's not very nice, because you don't have, when you have your car not fueled and ready for such trip, it's not okay to go off road with you know, Mini Cooper and stuff like that. So
No sat nav.
no, it's not okay to travel water on you know, Ski-Doo
No,
and
no.
stuff like that, which is not.
Was it with shamans that you did this?
I was descending the lake and I entered some type of prison down there for bad souls.
Oh, that's
So
what they say. The sticks. In Egypt, that's where they keep the souls of the bad under the river Styx.
I don't know. It was lake. It was a colorful place, and I jumped in this lake. And the next thing I know, that I was in some basement
Oh, yeah,
prison, something like that. So,
yeah.
and everywhere in those cameras, in those cells and little cell blocks, were some light souls which were glowing in the dark, and they were like set for being there, and they knew they doing time for maybe some clearing
Yeah.
stuff like that. So, and I found myself surrounded by the guards, and actually someone grabbed me by my hair and pulled me out of this thing, because the next thing they would probably do, they would probably put me in one of those cells.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was pretty lucky to get out, because when I woke up, I was all wet in water, like maybe I was rinsing myself with some water thing, maybe like a shower.
Yeah. Wow.
So next time when you fall in your dream, don't jump in the water, please. Don't do it.
Definitely not. I hate water.
There is a narrow gate between dark Navi and the ordinary Navi. So as long as you go up, as long as you climb the mountain or maybe fly in the sky, it's okay.
Yeah.
You might as well pass to another level, and some different dream will come to your view. But as long as you walk around on the ground, or descend to the basement, or some jumping in the water, you descend into the dark Navi world. So that's where all those demons and horrors, nightmares can come.
Were you on something?
No, it's just an ordinary dream. It's lucid dreams, like they say.
Right. Wow. Amazing.
But those drugs that people use to go to those lucid dreams can definitely lead them to dark Navi world, and they can get captured and never let out, because some of those druggy guys, you know, they do it. If they do it the wrong way, if they doing too much,
I know.
if they doing it without sitters, so-called sitters, which watch them while they doing it. I know one guy who was eating kratom rolls, something like that, something similar to some psychedelic thing, and he got totally crazy. He, you know, cussed everything and cursed everything he knew about drugs from that time, because he was woken up gray-haired, totally gray-haired, and he was like 10 years older after that dream. So he will never do any more drugs and stuff like that after that. So don't do this psychedelics, please. It's a good thing for those who know how
Well,
to
they grow
experience.
here, Philip. Everywhere.
Mushrooms, you mean?
They grow everywhere here.
Mushrooms.
Yeah, tiny ones.
Mushrooms are fine. I'm talking about this South African things, like South American, like kratom and ayahuasca and this type of these grasses. They don't grow in Europe. Trust me. Mushrooms are fine. Mushrooms are fine. You cannot just, if you eat too much mushrooms, you're just gonna puke and stuff like that.
Exactly. Right.
But when you do this ayahuasca, if you're not on a diet for 4 or 3 days, if you're not correctly prepared and rinse everything from you with the water, like I will not let this secret, but something is really coming messy to you. You may lose your mind, definitely.
I know, it's amazing, isn't it? What nature can provide for us, you know. And I think the shamans have got a lot to offer. Obviously, there's a lot of truth in these dimensions that are revealed to people who shamans. That's the crux of the church, isn't it? Really, the whole pagan symbology. It's so
Physical ideology.
transcendental.
Somebody's asking, have you have your own YouTube channels, guys? And
No,
Not yet.
so you might as well post your names of Facebook if you want
yeah, we
somebody to
will.
join.
We're gonna do it, Philip. We'd love to do YouTube.
This
Just talking with you. I mean, this is all you'd want to do, isn't it? I mean, I've wanted to talk to you for months. Obviously, a year. In fact, I would have since I first. I just think that's brilliant.
I first came up in August 2016 because
Yes,
before that
just
I didn't do it
yeah.
for another
You were
reason.
never.
Because I'm doing it every day. It's my job to do YouTube. I have a bunch of channels on corporate media, and right now I switched my work to completely doing only YouTube and video production.
Cool.
So maybe next year I'll be able to finally organize this documentary movie about mudflood, because right now we have some things which are not clear exactly, and we don't have the funding for that thing. I know guys who did already one documentary, and I probably gonna translate it really
Cool.
soon about
brilliant.
mudflood. So one of the Russian TV channels already did one documentary about that, and it came up like a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, great.
But it's also.
I'll narrate if you want. I mean, I don't know. Do you know what the thing is? Me and Matthew fancied with YouTube, just talking about the archaeology, I guess, whatever you want to call it. Not archaeology, geology. But yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I need addition. I need addition to the text that I'm gonna make, and it's gonna probably be some kind of a basic scenario type of thing. If you're familiar with video production, the first thing you do is a so-called synopsis. So synopsis is the way you see the movie is gonna go before you come up with the scenario. So, and then you're gonna have a scenario. You first have like animation scenario, like illustrations of some scenes or main scenes of your documentary or movie, whatever you call it.
Yeah. So, if you need any help, Philip,
I will probably need Illustrator for that, and
cool.
Well, that's
no, it'd be great to do stuff.
That would probably move things faster, because this is one of the most complex thing.
What's held us back? That we've not started YouTube because we've not had a subject other than the fact that it's all one thing, really. So it would have needed planning, or questions and answers would have been.
I'll help you.
Questions and answers
would have been thing. It's not very hard to do, because I do YouTube every day with a bunch of different projects. So
do you not worry about your anonymity?
Why should I be worried about that?
No, nobody can touch us, mate. Nobody can touch us.
No. If we are with what our ancestors want us to do, if we're on the right path, nobody can touch us. Believe me.
We wouldn't be where we are now if it wasn't meant to be.
I think we've got our ancestors behind us. That's exactly it. Absolutely.
Yes.
We are them. We are doing everything because we're trying. That's it. The end of the day.
Yeah, and I've seen a bunch of examples of that through my life. So when I'm doing the correct thing, everything, all the world turns to
Doesn't it?
face me,
It
not with
doesn't it just? Absolutely, Philip. It's amazing.
It's the quantum karma side of the reality we live in. Really.
Chris Seeley asks us if we need help with 3D animations. Well, we probably will have, but what the programs I'm working with is Adobe package, like After Effects and Premiere and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We probably need someone doing that because maybe how do you call it? Illustrator, Photoshop, After Effects, and Premiere. Those programs are be in great need. But if you can do some with 3D animation, that'd be pretty fine because first of all, we have to do a slide, or maybe not slide, a little short 2 minutes promotion video about this documentary. So this is probably the first step. So we need something starting with this because it's called a trailer in video production. So we need a trailer to start the process of the
well, there's some really clever people out there, Philip, because I watched a video on YouTube the other day, and then an hour later I got a message in my Facebook from someone that I've got no mutual friends with, and they knew that I'd watched the video, and I didn't click anything other than just simply watch a video and let it play on to the next one. So I've lived online for a while with various websites that we've run, so I do know a few people that were always Photoshop skills and video skills, but it seems like we're being pulled in directions now towards people that are behind the WikiLeaks revelation, and these people seem to know who you are before you even know yourself. So this is an online battle now, and it seems to be being pulled towards people that can help. So I guess we're just gonna have to let it continue on as it is.
It's a snowball, Philip. We're in a big snowball. It's just escalating.
Well, we know in Russia what snowball is. So.
I moved to Scotland to get snow this winter, and I didn't get any, Philip.
We've had a bit of snow.
One day we had snow for one day.
Chris, you might as well check on my Facebook page, and if we are not friends, just add me as a friend so I can write you a message.
Well, I've posted Laurel's link in the chat, but it moves.
Oh, Matthew! It's Matthew's mud flood.
It's moving really quick, so. But yeah, the chat's moving quick, but we'll get.
So we'll keep in touch. So that's okay.
Yeah, you can always put a link to Laurel's page on your.
Yeah, Matthew did the mud flood page for your stuff. That's his.
I don't care.
19th century mud flood Facebook.
Yeah, I know he did it. So thanks a lot for listening to us.
Thanks very much. It's been really fun. I've quite enjoyed it. Cheers, Philip.
Yeah, maybe I'll do another video today in the evening on the topic, but if I have time today, or if not, maybe see you tomorrow, guys.
Oh, okay. Definitely. Nice one.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thanks
a lot for joining.
I've enjoyed it.
Thanks
for the chat.
Good to finally get to talk to you.
Finally, I know. Cheers.
Bye.